Welcome to the Washington Examiner's Political Perspectives, our political discussion show which comes to you every week here on the WashingtonExaminer.com. If you are joining us on YouTube, remember to like or subscribe. The button is down here, approximately where you see my finger pointing. I'm joined, as I often am, by Byron York, our chief political correspondent. Welcome, Byron. And Byron, let's talk about something that both you and I have noted this week in columns, which is President Trump's rising stature and rising popularity.
It's 34 days until President Trump takes the oath of office, but he's already begun the power of the Trump effect. And you see what's happening at Mar-a-Lago. There's more activity there than there is on Pennsylvania Avenue because people around the world recognize that a new sheriff is in town.
Well, first of all, he stands higher than he has ever stood in terms of the public's favorability rating of him. In the Real Clear Politics average of polls, it's close to 50%, and the people who disapprove or have an unfavorable impression of him is maybe 47 or 48%. So this is not the type of popularity that, say, Barack Obama had in his first year in office. But for Trump, he's never been on top of the water since the pollsters started taking favorable, unfavorable ratings. So it's a big deal. And I think what's happening are a couple of reasons. One, he has done this before in terms of conducting a transition, and he's doing a pretty good job of it, really moving forward with a lot of nominations. And if a couple of them are problematic, there's still a whole bunch of them that are not. And then the other thing is he's not being attacked as much. If you remember, starting in 2016, the anti-Trump forces, the Democratic Party, the media, never-Trumpers, just attacked him 24/7. It made every news cycle about Donald Trump negative. And amazingly enough, his approval ratings, his favorability ratings went down. In addition, as you well know, Trump just feels like he has a responsibility to respond to every attack. So the voters looked at him and they saw a president who was maybe fighting as much as he was governing. Now that's not going on just for the moment, and Trump is benefiting from higher ratings.
Yeah, one of the remarkable things that he said, or one of the things that he said at his remarkable press conference at Mar-a-Lago, and this might be key, is everybody now wants to get on with him. And now, why is that? Is it true, and why is that?
Well, he was saying that in the context of corporate leaders who are coming down to Mar-a-Lago to discuss whatever their issues are. And the fact is, a lot of people do want to get along with him. And he said, well, maybe my personality has changed. Now, that was a joke. His personality, The one thing that has not changed here is Donald Trump's personality. So he does see this difference. And I think there were a couple of things. One, he won the presidency again. He was thrown off the bus. He was left by the side of the road for dead, and he's won the presidency again. And in doing so, he won the popular vote, which in many people's eyes makes it more legitimate than just winning the constitutional requirement of the Electoral College.
Right.
So he's in a stronger position than he was 8 years ago.
And I think that's exactly right. And he's in a stronger position, too, with foreign leaders for something of the same reason. Because he won the popular vote, and because his party ran the table in the election, and he's also has a Supreme Court, which has a 6-3 majority with 3 of his nominees are confirmed on it. He's got a massive media infrastructure. He's got the richest man in the history of the world on his side. He's got an extraordinary kind of infrastructure. But if the foreign leaders who might perhaps have thought of him as an aberration in the past and perhaps not masked some disdain that they might feel for him, cannot do that now. And because of the popular vote, a repudiation or a sort of disrespect for Trump would look more like a repudiation or disrespect for America. And just in their own national interest, they can't do that.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're seeing. And I think you and I have already discussed the incredible scene in France when he goes over to Paris and he meets with the president of France, president of Ukraine, other leaders, and he's treated like the leader of the free world, like he's already the president.
Right.
And, I think one thing we should also note here in terms of this Trump growing popularity, yes, he's doing a better job. People are optimistic. The polls tell us they're optimistic. They're confident that he can do a good job. And the flip side of this coin is Joe Biden has just totally disappeared.
Right.
Just disappeared is not really, doesn't appear to be doing his job. And the American people, I think, are just nervous to get the president, the sitting president, through the next 30-something days until he can leave office.
Right. I called the Mar-a-Lago press conference remarkable because the thing that what made it most remarkable, to me at least, was an extraordinary measure of calm and confidence in President Trump. Although he is approaching his second term with a more radical drain the swamp agenda, he's more determined. His rhetoric is less fiery or volatile. So there's an interesting combination of more self-assurance, more determination, but less kind of hectic and wild rhetoric, which is, I think, part of what makes him popular, isn't it? The public likes to see that, doesn't it?
Yes, and they saw that for more than an hour in the Mar-a-Lago news conference.
We'll take some questions later if you'd like. I'm sure you might have one or two. I'd be shocked if you didn't.
And we should add, since I was talking about Joe Biden, there's no way in the world Biden could do that. And everybody knows that. And so President Trump, who is 78 years old, there are concerns about his age. He gets up, he covers everything all over the map in more than an hour of talking. Clearly has the energy and an agenda and the energy to implement it. And so I think that reassures people that there's going to be an actual leader taking office on January the 20th.
Right. So Byron, let's turn our attention to Trump's defamation settlement with ABC. It caused a big stir, and it was a pretty sizable chunk of money. It was $15 million that ABC agreed to pay towards his presidential library, plus another $1 million in legal fees. Talk us through a little about what this was all about and how it came about.
Well, you may have seen a lot of news coverage criticizing ABC, saying they are capitulating to Trump, they're bending the knee to Trump. But I think they were actually afraid of losing the case. And we've now gotten some reporting from inside ABC News that that's exactly the case, because this case was going to be tried in Florida, not in the District of Columbia, not in New York, where anti-Trump juries could be assumed. And so ABC was worried about that. And there's also, and I'll say my opinion here, ABC defamed Trump repeatedly on that March 10th newscast, ABC This Week, in which George Stephanopoulos, the host, said multiple times, maybe 10 times, that Trump had been found liable for rape in the E. Jean Carroll case. And that was simply not the case. He was found liable for sexual abuse, but the jury specifically did not find him liable for rape. They were given that opportunity, a jury question that said, did she prove that he raped her? And they said no. So it was pretty clear what ABC was doing, and I think the company was afraid of how that would look to a jury.
Although I think what you say there is absolutely plausible, in that they felt that they were going to lose the case and they therefore didn't want to fight it in court, the accusations by Democratic activists such as super lawyer Mark Elias and many others that ABC was bending the knee to Trump goes to the fear that is at least being suggested by Trump's critics that he is out for conflict with the media. And it's given a bit more credibility, perhaps, by the fact that he launched a lawsuit against the Des Moines Register for a rogue poll. Is this a legitimate fear? Is the media in his sights or in the sights of members of his administration? how concerned should news organizations be that he's going to intimidate them?
I don't think they should be very concerned. I mean, Trump, before he was president and while he was president, has filed suit against media organizations a number of times. Never won any of them. They've all been thrown out. Never been close to winning one of them. And this was a situation. The ABC situation was a situation in which ABC had, in fact, defamed Trump. The Des Moines Register situation, I do not think that Trump has a snowball's chance of winning that one. Right. It's basically political commentary, which is kind of interesting in the sense that he blames this Des Moines Register poll. If you remember, it came out on November 2nd, 3 days before the election. Right. And all the polls had shown Trump leading in Iowa. It was assumed that Trump was going to win Iowa. And then all of a sudden they come out with this poll that Harris is leading by 3 in Iowa. And that leads to a lot of speculation that, wow, maybe that means Harris can win Wisconsin. And what about the other blue wall states? And maybe all of this talk that we've had about how the race is so close, maybe that's not true. And Harris really is ahead. Mm-hmm. So it certainly fired up Democrats, and maybe it discouraged some Republicans. I don't know. Yeah. But that's what Trump is suing over. He's actually not suing for defamation. He's suing for a violation of the Iowa Consumer Fraud Act. So this, I mean, it's a big stretch. It's a legitimate media criticism, but it's a legal matter. No.
Yeah. He presumably sees it as a way of trying to influence voters to believe that Harris was on a roll and therefore discourage Republican voting. And he would have to prove that it was deliberately false. So, Byron, thanks very much indeed for joining us. We'll be back again next week. I want to remind you all to subscribe again to our YouTube channel. Like us, subscribe to us. Join us again on WashingtonExaminer.com next time for Political Perspectives.